Hey, Happy it's your boy Mr. CJU. What it do? Back with another video. And this one, I'm gonna break down credit utilization or credit usage. This is a very important video because this has such a huge impact on you applying for new credit or you getting access to business funding, because banks are gonna look at your usage and your balances and your credit limits on the cards that you already got. So if you don't understand how to read your credit profile and understand credit usage, make sure you watch this whole video because I'm about to break it down for you. All right, so we talking about credit usage, right? So I'm gonna break down what this means on your credit profile, okay? Now y'all know I like to use Experian.com, and when we go to Experian.com, you go to reports and scores, you go to credit reports, and the first thing you're gonna see is a circle that show your percentages. And it's broke down into two things. All right, so number one, you have your total credit limits, all right? And then you also have your total balances, okay? So this means they just taking all the credit cards on your profile and they taking every credit limit on every credit card, and it's your total credit limit. And then they're gonna take the balance of all of those, put them together, and get you your total balances. All right. Then you're gonna have number two, each, put CC for credit card, each credit card limit, and then each credit card balance, okay? So you need to be able to read both of them so you can get a really good understanding of your credit profile, all right? So again, when you log into Experian, you're gonna see that big circle that's gonna show them both. But let me break down how this is gonna look. All right, so let's just say you have 4 credit cards, and I'm using this for an example. So let's say you got 4 credit cards. Let's say one credit card has a limit of $5K. Let's say you have another credit card that has a limit of $10K. Let's say the third credit card has a limit of $20K. Okay? And then let's just say, for example, 20, 30, 35. Let's say you just had another one for $5K. Let's just keep it simple. All right. So you got 4 credit cards, and these are the credit card limits on each card. So let's do the math. 20,000 times 5,000, that's 25,000. Times another 5,000, that's 30,000. Times another 10,000, that gives us 40 grand. All right. So adding up all these credit limits gives us a total credit limit of 40K. All right. Total. All right. So let's say we got balances on each one of those cards. So on this one, let's say we have a balance of $500, right? Let's say on this one, we have a balance of $1,000. Let's say we have a balance of this one, $2,000. Okay? And then let's say on this one, we have a balance of $250. All right? So now let's add up the total balances of all 4 of these credit cards. 2,000, 1,000 here, that's 3,000. 500, that's 3,500 plus 250, right? So 3,000 plus 500, 250, that's 370, 750. All right, so we got a balance of $3,750. All right, so this is our total credit limits, 40K. Total balances, 3,750. All right, so now we need to get a percentage. Credit usage is just a percentage of these numbers. Okay, so what would be the percentage of 500 out of 5K. That'll get us a percentage of 10% because I'm using 10% of this credit limit. So if I'm using $500, that's 10% of my limit of 5K. So this one is $10,000 limit. My balance is 1,000. So if I'm using 1,000 and my limit is 10,000, what's that percentage? This also is 10%. Okay? You come here, 20K out of 2,000, this would also be 10%. Kind of use the same example here, but that's how it would look, right? That's how it would look. And then here I got 250, so this would be 5%, right? So that's how you want to look at your cars. Like, man, am I using this amount of percentage? Now, if I was to play with the numbers, the percentages would just go higher, right? So let's say this balance right here on the 20K, it wasn't 2K. Let's say the balance was 10,000. All right. So what would be 10,000 out of 20K? That would move this to 50% and not 10%. Right. Then if that balance jumped from 2K to 10K, that jumped from 10% to 50%. So what's going to happen to our total balances? That's going to jump too. Right? So now we at 10,000 plus 1,000, that's 11,000, right? Plus 500 plus the 750. So we'll jump all the way to 11,750, right? So you're looking at the percentages change by your balances changing. So what we would have to do is now do the percentage of what the credit usage is going to show. Now, I don't have my phone on me with the calculator. I was trying to get these numbers to where I could do them in my head, but you would literally have to do the math. So let's play with the math. Let's just, I got to see it right here. Go ahead and help me with some Google here. Just type in, what is 11,750? What would that percentage be out of 40,000? That way we'll get our credit usage right here. What we got? 29.3%. So our total now here, you say 29? Yes. That brings us to 29 point something percent. That's pretty high. Because of this one, right? Because of that 50%. These are fine, 10%, 10%, 5%. But this 50%, man, that jacked us from 3,000 all the way to 11. So that brought us to 29%. So what we want to do is we want to keep it under 15%, right? So let's go back to the example I used at first. Let's say we paid it down. Okay. We paid it back down to 10%. So boom, we took that balance from 10K all the way down to 2,000, right? So this ends up being, the debt goes down from 11,750 to 3,750. So what would be our new total usage if you did that math? 9? 9.3. So that'll get us about 9%. So as you guys seen, right now with the examples I use, that's how your credit usage percentage jump up and down based off the balance that's reporting. So with this being at 50% instead of 10%, and these didn't even change, it affected the total usage. So just by one card spiking up too high, we had went from 9% all the way to 29%. So if you had 9% credit usage, meaning all your balance is pretty low like that, and the bank see you at 9%, they're going to give you more money because they're showing that you're not spending a lot of money and you're not carrying a lot of debt. But if you spiked it back up to that 29%, then the bank going to be like, that debt right here, at 10K, that's a little, they going to be kind of looking at that one. They're going to be like, ooh, these look good, but they're going to be staring at this one. Like, oh no, this debt a little high. Now you thinking like, damn, but I still can't get funded, CJ. I still can't get funded these low. Get this one low too. That's why I preach Get under 15% on all credit cards, because if you under 15% on all credit cards, that means your total usage gonna be low too, right? That means your total usage gonna be low. So when you looking at your credit profile, look at the credit limits on every single credit card you got, and then look at the balances, and then play the percentages, and make sure that every credit card you got, you don't have a balance reporting more than 10%. If you can do that, your credit score is gonna skyrocket and it's gonna stay high. Now, all you gotta do is know your due date and your statement date for every card, and make sure every time your statement date comes around with your credit cards, your balance is under 10%. If you do that, you straight. If you don't know what your statement date is on your credit cards, call the bank, right? If you can't read your statement and really see it, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Get your credit card, call the back of the number. It don't matter if it's Capital One, Discover, Bank of America, Chase. It don't matter if it's a credit union. It don't matter. It's those people's job to give you the information about your credit and your profile and your relationship with them. You can call the bank and be like, hey, I'm just calling. Can you guys help me know what my statement date is? I just want to make sure I'm paying my credit cards down and not carrying a lot of debt. And I'm not sure what my statement date is. Can you guys let me know that? They're going to tell you, give me your information, blah, blah, blah. You give them the information. They'll tell you, hey, your statement date is this date. So all you got to know is, all right, by my statement date, I need to make sure this balance is low, because if this balance low, that's going to get reported to the credit bureaus. And if it get reported to the credit bureaus under 10%, I'm straight. My credit going to always look good. Because again, let's do one more example. Help me out here. Let's say we up high. $2,500 balance. This go from 10% to 50%. Let's say this balance here goes up from 1,000 to 3,000. That means you go from 10% to 30%. Okay? Let's say you left this one low at 2,000. It stayed at 10%. You ended up running up on these. All right? Trying to do some simple numbers here again. Same thing. You ended up running this up 2,500, which gets you at 50%. So remember I told y'all each credit limit, each credit card back. Now look at all these numbers change. All right? So let's see what total debt we in now by changing these numbers. All right? 2,500, that's 5K. 5K plus 3, that's 8K. Plus 2, 10,000, right? So now our balance is at 10,000. This brings us at 25%. Y'all see that? Playing with the numbers. Man, but I got this one at 10%, but you raised these to 50 and 30, jacked us up at 25%. Now, this one most people get in real trouble. When they can't pay those down, and then they end up jacking this one back up to 10K, which brings this one to 50%. What's the numbers we got now? Now, the total balance goes 25, 25, 5, plus 3, that's 8, plus 10. Now we at 18,000. So if you at 18,000 balance at 40,000 total, what's that percentage? 45%. Once you get to 45%, X, it's a no-no. That's way too high. You see? So all you guys got to do is just keep your balances low on your statement dates, and don't make the overall jump too high, and just keep it under 10% like the examples I showed you earlier, and you'll be A-okay. I hope this video, gave you the information, gave you the sauce so you don't get lost. But I want you to go to Experian. I want you to look at all your credit cards that you got open. I want you to write down all the credit limits. I want you to write down all the balances. I want you to know the due date and the statement date on all your credit cards. And I want you to become a mathematician on the credit usage percentage that I broke down here. And I want you to know exactly why your total usage is that number. And I want you to know the exact reason why your individual cards have that total percentage number, because you need to know this information. So therefore you could be prepared when it's time to get you funded, and you could know that all your usage is down under 10%, under 15%, and then that's gonna help you maximize your funding. If it's too high like this, the banks are gonna deny you. If they see you carrying 50, 30, 50%, they're not gonna give you new money, all right? So this is the game on credit usage. This is the game on credit utilization. Make sure yours are low on the statement date, and you're going to be all right. It's your boy, Mr. CJU. Hap, hap.